The murder rate is down.
That's right.
It's come down significantly since 2021. Could you talk a little bit about some of the work that you've done, especially collaborating with judges, the police department, and um, the Public Defenders Association, all the work that you guys have done? Could you, for our listeners, could you talk a little bit about specifically the things that you've done to reduce those numbers from 2021 up until now? Because there's people that are like, even the ones that are not as informed and they're not tuned in, they don't know what's going on behind the
Yeah.
scenes. They may just hear about the numbers coming down. But can you talk a little bit about what you've done to see that decline?
Sure. Well, excuse me, I got a little bit of a cold, but
So
it takes
Yeah.
many different forms. And, it includes things like expanding diversion. Diversion is a way of holding people accountable who are basically not criminal, but they made a mistake. And we're trying to steer them in the direction of doing the right thing by not making it impossible for them to get a job. You get a conviction, especially for a felony, you may be unemployable the rest of your life. And that's, if you're out shooting people, too bad. But if what's going on is you made a mistake, you're basically a good person, then I would rather make you work really hard and end up with no conviction,
Mhm.
because I know that in the long run, society will be safer if we do that. So we've done a lot with diversion. We started a restorative justice program that never existed before. We started an immigration unit to deal with the issues of victims, witnesses, and also sometimes defendants who are undocumented. We've done a lot of that stuff, but what I think a lot of people probably know the least about is what we have done in terms of using forensics. In other
Yeah.
words, using
Mm.
cutting edge science to solve cases that were not being solved before. And it's pretty clear in my mind that what we've been able to accomplish there is permanently shutting down certain shooting groups
Mhm.
that, many of these shooting groups have gone on for decades in Philadelphia. And the police would get an individual in that group for a murder or for a shooting, take the individual down, but the group went on.
Yeah.
And it even went on to the point where you had the grandkids of whoever was in that beef 30 years ago.
Mm.
And they're beefing, but they
Yeah.
don't even remember how it started. I mean, it went
Yeah.
on like that. But it's a different world when you have cameras in a lot of places, when you have license plate readers in the city
Mhm.
that are looking at publicly visible license plates and they're charting the time, the location, the date they were in a particular place. When you have cutting edge DNA that will allow us to get tiny amounts of DNA off of things uh, you could hardly even imagine. Things like a fired cartridge casing. That's the
Mhm.
brass end of a bullet that flies out of a semi automatic gun when you fire it.
Mhm.
Imagine a world where you can have a bullet have an explosion, get incredibly hot, fly out of a gun, bounce on the sidewalk, and we can pull DNA off and know who loaded it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just an amazing thing.
Wow.
So, when you start to have a bunch of machines that will crack open cell phones, they'll get past
Mhm.
passwords. And now you're able to put together an entire case off of things like the geolocation that's in that
That's
phone
right.
that
Yeah.
shows where the phone was at the time of the shooting. Where was it before? Going
Mhm.
towards the shooting. Where was it during the shooting? At the shooting? Where was it after the shooting? Running away from the shooting.
Mhm.
This is how you start
Mhm.
to solve crimes that were never solved before. It's how you start to make it so that young people who are thinking of picking up the gun tonight decide this is not the night.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It has made a tremendous difference. So for me, prevention is absolutely key. But it's
Mhm.
also key that Philly catch up with other cities and that we have the ability to solve more cases,
Yeah.
leave more mothers with answers about
Mhm.
whatever happened to their child than we have been able to do in the past.